Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for attending the Mount Brydges Arena Building Committee on April 9th, 2024. Is the roll call been taken?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you much. Looking for approval of the agenda made by Mayor Grantham, seconded by Craig Wilsey. All in favor? That's carried. Glad there's more than 3 people here so we can actually have a vote other than last time. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Nobody's found anything to make any money off of this, so that's good. And we are now looking for the approval or corrections of the last committee meeting minutes. Are there any questions? Seeing none, then I'm looking for approval. Made by Councillor Wilsey, seconded by Mayor Grantham. All in favor? That's carried. So we are at the unfinished business. So the first item we have to deal with is the Class C costing. And I know there were some opinions expressed about this at the last meeting. However, since then, the government has announced some dollars for recreation facilities. So the question, I guess, needs to be more formal and finalized about whether or not we wish to go forward with the costing so we can apply for said funds when and if they come available, or if we're just gonna say we're gonna let that money pass by and hope for another round at some point. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. So I'd love to say that we're at a point where we should do a Class C costing and be ready to receive money, but in my opinion, the location that we've been looking at isn't satisfactory. And in the broader scheme of a number of different discussions that have been going on within the municipality, we're just not there. So in my opinion, proceeding to spending some $88,000, put my glasses on, $88,370 is not going to bear any fruit at this point in time, unfortunately. And I don't know if the government put something out, if we could move quick enough to obtain the right site, but that's my point of view on it. So I'll just leave it open. I'm not going to make any motion at this time.
Yes, Mayor Grantham?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with the deputy mayor, but for some different reasons that we'll discuss later. I wait till we get to inquiries and comments. I got something I want to say, but I'm not in favor at this time. I'll just sum it up with spending the money on the Class C costing. So, you know, if it were to come to a motion or that, I would be voting not to proceed.
Sandy?
Quick question. So the idea behind this is spending this to get the Class C, that would be what we're looking at right now. So it would be the site that we're looking at is the one, like, so everything we'd be doing for the exact site that we've been looking at since, I suppose, day one, really.
And the design.
And the design, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I hate giving up government money. I hate it. I hate the fact that letting it go and hoping that we hit the next round. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense when we know that that's not the design that perhaps is what we're going for. I mean, I don't think there's anyone in the municipality that would be thrilled with us telling them that we'd be possibly spending $40 million, even if the government gave us some money. So I think, and it really crushes me to say this, but I think it might be something that we might want to let go at this point, but as long as the public realizes we're not letting go of what we're doing, we're letting go of this particular spot, because this spot might not be the right spot to put what we want to put there. And I think there's been a lot of conversations going on, and right now the design we have isn't the design that I think we're looking for, nor is it the design we can afford. And so just as long as the public realizes we're not, I mean, everyone knows I'm one of the biggest proponents of that we need an arena at Mount Brydges, but we didn't say that that we needed the $40 million design. And as much as I think that government money is extremely important, and I think that was one of the things we talked about when this first came up, 4 years ago when we were discussing this, it wouldn't be enough to suffice a project that we have sitting here in front of us for $40 million. It just wouldn't be unless they were planning on giving us, I don't know, 30 million. But anyways, that's just my comments. I'll leave it at that.
Go ahead, Craig, you might as well express your opinion too.
I'm in agreement with pretty much everything that was said. With the design we've got, there was a few elements that we were building in specifically because of the site was on and the building it was replacing. I don't need to rehash everything that pretty much everyone has said here, so I think what I will do, unless there's a motion already written up, is make a motion that we stop development at this particular site and not proceed with the Class C costing. Unless there's somebody who wants to make some amendments to that motion, but that's kind of what I think the words are here.
Well, I think at the moment, we're just looking about the costing. We're gonna leave the site discussion.
Yeah. On the table.
It will resolve itself at some point, but for this issue, it's just about getting the costing.
Yeah, and I thought I said stop the Class C costing at this site. However we want to word that, we want to rejig what I said, just not go ahead with the costing.
How about that we pass for the time being on a Class C costing?
Mhm.
Just very simple.
Very simple.
Yeah, I could put that one forward.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Guess I don't need to ask for a post.
Unless you are.
All right, so again, I would just want to reiterate, as Sandy said, that, you know, we're gonna make a commitment to keep the Mount Brydges Arena open, and so that there is an ice facility in Mount Brydges, and that for the time being, Tri-Township remains the heart of Mount Brydges, so there is no less commitment from anybody as far as that goes. Would that be a fair statement to say on everybody's behalf?
Yes.
Yeah. And then just as a matter of business, then this motion would be forwarded to council for approval of the minutes, and we'll just speak to it then about why this transpired and why the decision is what it is, so that the public gets an answer on a broader picture. Yes?
So just for clarity, because you only accept the minutes as the information of the meeting that's occurred, staff probably should bring a report forward identifying that there was a motion made by this committee to not proceed with the Class C costing.
That sounds like a great idea. Thanks for suggesting that. All right, so next item of business, moving on to 5.2. So we did put out a request for proposal for a P3, so public-private partnership, to see what kind of ideas might come forward. And we did get 3. Rob, did you want to speak at all to the 3 applications?
Just that we issued the expression of interest. There were a number of actual document takers. I think there was about 15, I believe. We received 3. One from New Stadia, which is New Stadia Recreation. Another company called Plenary out of the US, but I do believe they have a Canadian affiliation. And then the YMCA of Southwestern Ontario. I've reviewed all 3 documents. I'm not going to tell you which way I would be leaning, because it's not my position to do that. But they all bring something to the table, some more than others. New Stadia was our author of the recreation facility infrastructure renewal strategy, so I will get that out there right off the hop. So they are the business who created the strategy that identified closing of the Mount Brydges Arena. When they conducted that strategy was conducted on Strathroy-Caradoc, not Strathroy-Caradoc in area, so Strathroy-Caradoc. So they were not taking into account the outside influences that would be brought into Mount Brydges that would see, residents from neighboring municipalities who would be utilizing Tri-Township Arena. So I just wanted everyone, because I've had that question a couple times, weren't these the people who recommended the closure? So I just wanted to get that out there.
All right, I'll open the floor for questions. Yes, Colin?
Thanks, sir. You're just my general comments. And just to correct on plenary, they actually do have Canadian ownership. They're owned by, and I can't remember the bank out of Quebec, but they now have Canadian ownership. I did a little Google search on them. It's right where I thought it would be. The word I like is potential. I mean, nobody would have came with an exact plan, but I would suggest there's potential for conversations to be had. So if it was me, we discuss it here, but refer it back to council as a whole, because I think the next step is some kind of a discussion at a higher level. But really just to go on, I know this is about an arena, but especially with one of them, and what excites me is the possibility of doing something with a municipal complex. That seems to be our new term that we're using, that includes the fire hall, and that again, it all depends on land, but we'll get there. And I did read them all pretty in depth, and the main thing that they do is they help with the project plan, but the equity and the financing, that's where they can help out. But again, that's my word, is potential, Steve. There's a lot of potential for conversations. They're greater conversations, but like everything, the devil's in the details, right? We're so far away from the details, but I think it's at least worthwhile to have a conversation with new stadia and plenary. I mean, the WISE proposal was strictly for one thing. They're not going to help us with financing and that, but that would just be my recommendation, that we bring it forward to council, because there are some conversations that need to be had. I think council as a whole can direct us, but that's my thoughts. I was pretty excited by it. It's not bad fishing 2 out of the 15, but just my thoughts.
Mike?
I agree. Obviously, I've spoken to the mayor about this and reviewed it. I will say that the Nestadia one, the way it is formatted or whatever, is very difficult to open. So when we do send it up to council, maybe we want to make sure that it'll open. I can't open it on this computer. I can't open it on, it's not the right cell phone, but I can't open it up on a cell phone. So there's something going on. I think the same comments have been made by others. So
I didn't send you one, Sandy.
but anyways, that being said, I just bring that out. But I think it's something that we need to send to council and get direction from council how they want to proceed. It's kind of at that political end for the moment on that decision.
Greg, I know you read them all, so.
Nothing really add that hasn't been said. It's kind of same comments as the mayor and the deputy mayor. There's 2 good ones. Some have more benefits than the other, which as far as financing and some of the equity that I like. But that's a discussion we can have later. I don't think we need to go in depth onto all 3 of them right now.
Sandy?
Actually, I was thinking the exact same thing as what Greg just said. There's just things we need to discuss, but yeah, it's not something that we can get into. But I will say I had a lot of people ask me about the new stadia, so I'm actually really glad that Director Lilwarn put that out there, because
I was going to if he didn't.
Yeah, I'm telling you, as soon as I saw the word dystadia, my heart started pounding, and I was like, oh no, not again. So yes, thank you for putting that out there. Take a breath. But yeah, I think this is just something that moving forward, there's lots of conversations that need to be had at this point. And obviously council as a whole gonna have to be done there, but there's some good, there's some interesting things in two of them for sure, and financing is huge. So, yeah, anyways, that's it.
Yes,
Yeah, just real quick, and nobody offered to write a check for $35 million. Right? So we'll help you borrow the money at a preferred rate, right? Nobody said, oh, here's where we'll get you the money, but.
So I'll just add my take, just for the public's perspective. So I know in previous discussions in the Y, when we were talking about indoor swimming pool, they do offer a fundraising component because they are structured to fundraise. My sense at the time was their ability to achieve a lot of dollars, like the kind of dollars we'd be hoping for, is pretty limited. But certainly they have a breadth of experience at programming. However, now we do our own programming, which back then we didn't. So I don't feel the need to have a programming component involved in whatever relationship we have with anyone. The other two, what I kind of saw out of those, just again for the public's perception, they're more than welcome to read the documents online, is that they go, okay, so you want an arena or you want this piece, and we're going to look at this to make that piece more financially viable in some way, shape, or form. And so you end up with a much bigger project and a much bigger dollar figure than what you're hoping for, or what you were thinking you were going to start out with. And that's going to be something we're going to have to grapple with as we go through. And that turns out to be the case for their suggestions for Mount Brydges. But certainly I did reach out to the mayor of Moncton, New Brunswick, because she's a Mount Brydges native, to see what they thought of the Superior Propane Center, and she says it runs great.
Who did that one? Remind me, was that plenary or?
No, that was New Stadium.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And they do, I think, three different places in Moncton. And they, as a council, they like the P3 process. I myself have always been a little bit leery of it, probably because when the Harris government was around, they were strongly proposing P3 projects primarily for brownfield sites, and what the municipality could do is accept all the liability and shoulder a lot of costs that they wouldn't have otherwise done. And I think the only really projects that I can remember was the 407 and the Woodstock Hospital, were I think the only two that came out of that whole push for the provincial P3 stuff at the time. So yeah, it is definitely a different ballgame. Who owns it, who pays for it, who pays for any deficit. So I guess the question that I would pose to the director would be, if we're having discussions about these companies and they would involve possible land sites, does that mean that's an in-camera discussion? Maybe the CAO who happens to be in the audience, might be able to help.
I would suggest, if we're talking about location, and we don't own the location, I would suggest it needs to be in camera. If we own the location, then that's a different story, but if we're looking at alternative locations, we need to go in camera.
And I don't mind the L word, sorry, through you, I didn't recognize it.
Go ahead.
I'm used to just jumping in. I wouldn't mind, because we'll get down to inquiries and comments, having the land discussion in general vague terms. I think it's important, right? Because I was gonna wait till inquiries or comments to bring up land, but more in a general, non-descriptive anywhere, because we don't own any land currently this time, so.
All right, so I did ask Rob or the director, sorry, I shouldn't be so personal, to kind of identify what some next steps would be, because this goes beyond my knowledge and abilities. So, Rob, I'll leave that to you.
Well, first off, I think staff need to bring a report forward. I think Bill Dakin needs to get his eyes on these documents so he can give us an understanding of the financial side, how we may see ourselves involved in this process. So I don't, yes, we need to have a higher level of discussion, but I think that discussion needs to come with a staff report. That staff report's not something that's going to be 2 weeks. It may be the middle of May, beginning of June, before we're able to gather all of the information. I think at least to provide you with quality information. I would hate to throw something quickly together and then miss something. So the next step from a staff perspective would be to correlate a bunch of information, bring a fulsome report back to council, and then have that conversation. If land is part of the conversation, whether it's a broad discussion or focusing in on something, if we're not in camera, then we need to be very, very cautious on what we say out of camera, right? So that's saying that we don't want to be mentioning locations and so on. So if we think we may slip, we better err on the side of caution than make an error.
Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
So, when I look at this, I see this as no longer a decision being made at this committee, and that this whole concept needs to return back to council for the very reasons that we're just speaking about. At some point in time, council will address some of the questions that have just been raised, and then that will move this project into a different direction. It'll kind of pick it up and do whatever with it again. But I think, I'm not quite sure how we want to deal with this committee. Keeping it alive and having meetings is just, there's no fruit to it anymore for the
It would
moment.
only be if we have any topic to discuss.
Yeah, so
At
I
this
guess
point, it would be
my question would be, like, do we collapse the committee and re-establish it at an appropriate time when we're prepared to do that, or do we keep it going and just don't do anything with it? I have no idea if that entails work on behalf of staff. I don't want to make extra work for staff.
No, I would think it would be the latter. We just wouldn't do anything. We just waiting until council makes a decision and whatever process goes forward. But we always have the ability at council to reappoint committee members, so that can be done.
So that would be collapsing it then and then reappointing when we need it up again.
Yes, go ahead.
If you were just to put the committee on hold, the next meeting could be at the call of the chair. At the end of this council term, all committees collapse anyway. So you don't need to necessarily collapse this committee. At the end of the term, it will collapse itself.
Oh, yeah. I understand it. My question is, to the clerk, leaving a committee standing that potentially has no function for the foreseeable future, is that extra work on staff, or is it just parked in a envelope and left?
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor McGuire, so the latter, there would be no additional work for clerk staff at this time to maintain the committee. Certainly the committee can make a recommendation to council that the committee be collapsed, and then it could be a council decision at that point, but certainly as Director Lilburn referenced, we can certainly leave the committee as at the call of the chair, and in the event that there's a development, there's a committee ready to go.
Yes, Sandy.
I would suggest that we leave it at the call of the chair, because anything, we don't, like, anything could happen. So I think at that point, if it's no extra work on staff and it's honestly no extra work on us at the, it makes sense to do it that way, but that's just my opinion.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, sorry, through you to the director. So I'm just curious about what a report from Director Dakin would would entail. Like, I'm just trying to figure out what would it be, like, how can you go through, would it be a history of how P3s work, or just, there's no real financial stuff. I just wonder what report we would get from Director Deacon.
Well, it'll be, sorry, through the chair to Councillor, just demoted you. Sorry, Your Worship.
That's fine, I like it down here. You can say a lot.
To Mayor Grantham.
You can say a lot.
It's not gonna be so much financials, it's gonna be more about how we fit into the larger picture. I think an explanation of what P3s are is important for not just council members, but for the public at large. Because we can sit here and talk about P3s all the time, and if the general public doesn't know what we're talking about, there's gonna be some confusion that lays out of the public. So I think bringing a report forward with information on what is the next, do we reach out to both of these organizations individually? Do we want request further information, right? One group is a developer, another group's not a developer, right? So we need to flesh out how we're going to move forward as a group together as well, so.
I think it might also be useful, I mean, the one project I saw in all that mix, that's probably the closest anything that we might do, might be the Wellesley project.
Yes.
So maybe even just how the financial relationship worked for them, and how that would impact our finances. Even the discussion between doing a design build, which we did do for Gemini, and having an architect start from scratch. They're two totally different processes and end up with two very different products. An architect-led design would probably have durable bones to a structure, I guess is the way I put it, whereas a design build would save you a lot of money, but might cost you more money later, and how that balances out. Certainly with the Gemini project, I know they saved us, I think, even at the time, like $600,000 or $700,000 worth of architect's fees for a $5.2 million build. But then we had some significant HVAC issues later, and in the end, I think it was still a really good product. But it was basically a design that was made in Burlington, that they just moved it and built it here. So all they really had to change was soil testing, stuff like that. So, yes, Mike.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to be cognizant of staff's time in preparing the report. So it seems to me that we are sending this back to council. So the Arena Build Committee is letting go of it for the time being, and it's going back to council, and there's things that council needs to discuss, likely in camera. For that discussion, we don't need reports. Council will ask what reports council wants. Like, we're generating a whole bunch of reports again that we don't even know what the discussion at council is going to be. The five of us here from council have an idea about what we want to talk to council about, but why don't we let council make a decision what they want to report on before we start generating a whole bunch of reports.
I don't know how you could make a decision without some basic information about how P3s operate and what kind of impacts those have on municipal finances.
Again, why don't we let council? We're giving it up. This committee's giving it up and putting it back over to council. Great discussion at council. I don't think we should be doing anything further with it, other than handing it back to council and letting council do it.
I'm not saying we lead council in a direction, but I think they need some basic information. Yes, Craig?
My thought is if it goes back to council in the discussion, if council wants to make a decision on what we're gonna do, not even for going forward, moving forward, maybe the decision is that we don't have the money and this isn't a budget item until year whatever. If that's the decision that council makes, and it's a very quick discussion, we don't need to spend staff's time making the reports. I think that's the point that deputy mayor is getting. It's not that we don't need the reports to go further, But if council's decision is that this isn't in the budget, we have to focus on infrastructure, and maybe we don't look at it for a year or 2 years, everything might change. These people may not bid again if it comes up in 8 or 10 months, or whatever that time frame is. So, without having land, without having money, I kind of agree with that. Like, information is good, but information just for the sake of information without a current project is maybe not the best use of staff's time, especially when they're already backlogged with reports.
Sandy?
So, I hear what you're saying. I appreciate what you're saying, I do, and I get it, and I know staff time is, oh my gosh, I know what's going on, I know how busy you guys are. But my worry is, well, for one, my worry, the way we're talking right now, anyone listening to us right now is just going, all right, they've just squashed the whole arena. That is what they're thinking. That 100%, that's what they're doing. They're like, you're gonna send it back to an in-camera conversation, and possibly we'll do it, possibly we won't. We don't have land, we don't have money, so why the heck are we even gonna talk about it? Like, I guarantee you, and I mean, and this isn't what we're doing. I mean, this is something that the community within our municipality, Mount Brydges, came together and petitioned and sent emails and texts and calls, and I can't even tell you all the things that they did, but we live there, so we know what they did. But I mean, I guess we do need to also be cognizant of the fact that the community members that fought for this, and they fought hard for this, that we can't just say, well, maybe we'll put it on the docket for a few years down the road. Yes, I get it. I get the money thing. I do. Nobody wants to spend $40 million. I don't. I don't want my taxes and that when I know that we've got infrastructure projects. But at the same time, this is really important. So I guess I agree that perhaps we don't want to have the staff putting on yet another report, but I think it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of information on the things that we're doing, and so that when it comes up in our in-camera meeting, we'll be talking about the things that we can't talk about right now. As the mayor said, the L word. And we can talk about the process, and we can talk about, and those are the conversations we can have. But I am telling you right now, I'm gonna get out of this meeting and I'm gonna be inundated with people going, you just canceled the whole arena. That's what they're gonna say. And I'm frustrated. I don't know if you guys can tell.
Before I go to the mayor, I just want to point out, Sandy, that recreation is infrastructure.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
Can't discount it.
Okay, sorry.
In fact, it's the piece of infrastructure that people probably affiliate the most with, because it's the one that changes their lifestyle. So,
Absolutely.
yes, Mayor.
And I apologize, and actually I'll apologize, Councillor Hippel. I wasn't trying to slow it, I was trying to fast track it. Because that was my concern, that anybody hearing, because I know report, that's all I was trying to get at, like what was gonna be in a report? How do we keep this going without getting mired down in a report? That's why I asked the question, what would be in a report? Because, yeah, I think there is great potential here that has conversation. Again, I was making sure, Director, that we weren't gonna get too far down into the weeds with it, that it would just be high level, right? And that's what I was looking for. Let's keep the momentum going.
If I can, since she's chosen to attend this meeting for a reason, I will ask the CAO what her opinion is about this, because, this has the potential to be.
I told her she could have sat right there beside me.
One of the larger infrastructure projects that we have.
I would think that just a very basic report, like I'm thinking 2 pages, like 1.5 pages, that just explains what this type of project is, very high level, very basic, and then if council decides they want more information, then council can give us clear direction on what further information they want. I'm seeing this as not taking a lot of staff time, just a bare boned, here's some definitions of what you need to know.
Thank you, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Then can I have a motion that we refer this issue back to council with a brief staff report on the basics of the issues. Made by Sandy, seconded by Greg. All in favor? Carried. And, were you awake on my computer here? We'll go to inquiries and comments by members. Did you want to start off, Mayor?
Thank you. No, and there was a
Thank you,
reason.
Tricia, by the way.
Pardon me?
I just wanted to thank Tricia for her response.
I scared her, she didn't want to sit beside me. So, I think we're all passionate about this. I did have some conversations in the last couple of weeks with residents of Mount Brydges, and the word I got was, there's some frustration, because they want to see a decision made. Whatever that decision may be, they want to see something concrete happening. So, I'm not frustrated, I'm just starting to get impatient. I'm gonna start to push a little bit more that we come up with a decision. So in my conversations with certain people who feel as passionately as Sandy does about it, they know and recognize that a new arena is a few years off. They understand that it's a lot of money, but they want to see something concrete come out of this and not just words. So, you know, that's why I didn't let go of the L word, land, even if they knew that a site, wherever it may be, had been picked and they knew that is where someday a new arena is going to go, and there had been some commitment from council. So again, there's, and we got to continue to communicate, but there is some frustration in that they understand we're talking. And the person I talked to, they're as up to date as anybody, but they want to see something concrete happen. And that's where I'm at, that we need to start making, so this committee's been going for a year and a half, and we need to make some kind of concrete decisions. And that's what I would like to see happen, and keep the momentum going. So not to go into other parts, but I think, and I will be bringing up in council, I think council needs to make some overtures to try Township Arena to put out there, what do you folks need to keep operating? It's not part of this mandate, but if everybody looks what was announced in Middlesex Center in Ilderton, they made an announcement of an investment of $4 million in their arena to keep it going, and told the public that will get us another 10 to 12 years. So I sit beside the Deputy Mayor, John Brennan, in County Council, and he said it seems to be well received because people know there is something going on. So I guess my message is, we're a year and a half in, let's start making decisions, not just this group, but council. The public want to know, and they're reasonable. They just want to know that something concrete is happening, and that was why I pushed a little bit on the staff report. I just want to keep momentum going. I'm going to, just on my own likable way, I won't say lovable because I'm not lovable, just try to keep this moving. We got to keep it going, because Sandy's right. The people in Mount Brydges just starting to get a little bit restless, and they want to know what's going on. So we need, and I'll bring that up at council, that part of what we need to do is put something back on Township Arena. Tell us what you need to keep going for another few years. That's mine.
Deputy Mayor McGuire?
Thank you, Chair. Honestly, Council Hippel, I'm as passionate as you are about it. Well connected in the entire community, including Mount Brydges, for many different reasons. But certainly during the campaign, there was two types of signs that I seen. Mount Brydges needs an arena, and save the Mount Brydges arena. I know there's those that want a brand new building, there always is. But by far, the people that contacted me and continue to speak about it with me want to just make sure they have an arena. To that regard, I am 100% committed to maintaining an arena in Mount Brydges. It's the broader thought as to where it's going to, where this whole concept goes in the future is what, it has to go back to council for decisions. It's just that big, and I think people can understand that. So don't take by any of my comments that throw it in the garbage and leaving, never to talk about it again. In my opinion, your arena is safe. I can't ever see myself voting to get rid of the arena in Mount Brydges. So I'm committed to that, whether sitting here at this table or at the council table. And I agree with the mayor. They want an answer, at least in the immediate future. So we may have to spruce up the building we currently have, and probably good discussions. I sit on Tri-Township Arena Board also. So if it ends up over there, I'm sure we have lots to say about the potential. And of course, those drive back to council and our partners in the arena, because we are partners, operating partners, but our partners extend frequently beyond operational into capital expenses.
You got anything to add tonight?
Not really, no, there's been a lot that's been said. I think we've all been kind of circling around the same thing, that we want an arena, we need to do something about Brydges. We've made the commitment that we're going to do there, but at the moment, we just don't have the land or I don't think we're ready to make a decision yet with what that thing is that we're gonna do, but we're all committed to doing something and to keeping an arena in Mount Brydges. I think that's, I can't say anything plainer than that.
Sandy?
Well, that's key right there. I mean, because everyone says that they're committed, and I know they are, and we've got a great council. I also, as well as the deputy mayor, sit on the Tri-Township board, and we also have a really good group of very committed people that want to see and do the best. And I mean, really, what else can you ask for other than that we are committed to make sure that there is going to be, whether we're sprucing up, my dad always said that, sprucing up the arena, whether or not we upgrade Tri-Township to something like Ilderton or do something, because I saw that too, I thought how interesting that was. While we're waiting and while we look for that option, that we're able to hopefully at some point get some money that comes down from the government. At that point, who knows who's going to be in power at that point. So I mean, we're looking at the big picture, and the big picture is exactly what you all said, is there must be an arena in Mount Brydges. We have one right now. We need to keep that running. We need to keep it running well for the community and for all the user groups. And then moving forward at some point, who knows what how long that's going to take. If we've got good momentum and we get some help and we go in the right direction, it could be in a few years where we're just gung-ho and we're gonna do something. But in the meantime, we need to keep the arena we have. So if we're all committed to doing that, then I see good things coming ahead.
Right, the only thing that I would add, I would also echo Mike's comments that I also could never see myself voting against or voting for not having an arena in Mount Brydges. I felt that way right from the start. When the original report came out, haven't changed my mind since, even though I represent Ward 1. I understand from the people that I know in the Mount Brydges area how they met their lifelong friends and how that became the heart and soul of the community. And if it were to ever close, how that impacts the people in Ward 1 as well, because suddenly there's a whole lot of ice time that's just disappeared that would have to be made up in either West Middlesex or Gemini, and that's going to impact the users there as well. So I don't ever want to see families in Mount Brydges have to drive 20 minutes or 25 minutes extra if they don't have to. I would prefer to see them stay in their own community. So, yes, Mayor Grantham.
Don't know if this is appropriate, but just sitting in here and wishing to see some concrete action, and just came to me and I'll get some help with the wording. I think it's appropriate that the Mount Brydges Arena Building Committee send a motion to council as a whole that they work with Tri-Township Arena on a plan to revitalize and upgrade Tri-Township Arena. I think if we want to bring a positive message out of here that we're looking forward and find a first step to start that ball rolling, I think, because it is, I look into the words, it is called the Mount Brydges Arena Building Committee, so that's just my thought. I'd like to make that motion, whether anybody wants to second it or debate it or what the wordings are, but I just think at some point in time, we gotta get in front of council to approach Tri-Township Arena about bring back to council a costing, a plan to rejuvenate that arena for a period of time. And I have no problem, Chair, being shot down. It just came to me, it's a concrete action that could come out of here, out of this committee.
Maybe it might be,
And I have no problem being shot down on it, by the way.
no, I don't have an issue with that at all. I think that it would be good for the Tri-Township Arena to bring a plan forward. I guess the only, I would have issue, or possibly have issue with the adjective that's being used.
Well, that's why I threw it out there,
Yeah.
right? So,
I think that a plan from the Tri-Township Arena to the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc and probably Chippewa Towns.
yes.
To, for the future of Tri-Township Arena. I would put it that way.
Okay, if that's a friendly
Yes,
amendment.
Deputy Mayor?
Again, did you say direction or a recommendation? Because I think we could recommend up to council, I don't know.
We
that
can't
we
direct,
can
no, that's why I put out there the word Smith.
Recommendation, is it? Can we have that read back whenever?
Yeah. No, that's why I threw it out there, Deputy, just to help me wordsmith it. I want to see something come under.
Mr. Leading word, but.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so, through the chair to members, so, if I could, I may also recommend, specifying the wording, the Tri-Township Arena Board, rather than Tri-Township Arena as an entity. So, where I have currently, and I believe we're still looking for a seconder for this motion, but from Mayor Grantham, that the Mount Brydges Arena Building Committee recommend that council work with the Tri-Township Arena Board to work on a plan regarding the future of Tri-Township Arena.
Does the future leave it wide open though, because it makes it sound like some, right? If everybody's okay with that, rejuvenation.
Well, that's the word I have an issue with.
Do you? Okay.
Rejuvenation?
Well, we don't, because we don't know what the plan may be, right? If you specify that it's rejuvenation, then you're looking at doing a complete building revamp, which may or may not be the case that's required, because that may run into other issues that we might be exposing.
See, I just see rejuvenation, it could be what we recommend, painting and a couple of new doors with ADOA buttons put on them. Like, I see it starting as small as we can paint the building for X amount of money. We, like, sitting on TTA board.
Others may have a different interpretation, that's the only, but future leaves it open too, so, yeah.
I just, the word, again, I like wordsmithing this. The word future of makes it sound, it could go either way. So if I'm reading this from the public standpoint, it doesn't show there's a commitment. We're just saying,
For the continued operation of.
for the, I like that continued operation.
We know what you're asking for.
Yeah, I like that, continued operation.
I'll second it, if you'll accept that.
I'll accept it.
Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. So I am looking for a motion to adjourn. It says schedule meetings there, but it would be a call of the chair. Yep. Mike made the motion to adjourn, and seconder. Greg, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Hour 10 minutes for the next.